Hi ladies and gents, I'm Mike Woods and I'm going to teach you how to build a trebuchet. First, you need a trebuchet kit. The trebuchet kit has a firing arm, a base plate, two launch rails with flat tabs along one edge, two horizontal members with a slotted tab and a slanted tab on this side, two vertical members with a hole for an axle, a tab slot, two slanted tab slots, and a flat tab on the bottom. Two long stabilizer arms. These have flat tabs on both sides. Four short stabilizer arms. These have a flat tab on one side and a slanted tab on the other. Two side pieces for the counterweight bucket. A front and a back piece for the counterweight bucket. And a bottom piece for the counterweight bucket. The kit also has two spacers, two C-shaped spacers, a donut spacer, 6 pieces of steel bar stock for the counterweight, a sling, 2 brass axles, a long one and a short one, a washer, and 2 pieces of string. Ready? Let's go. First thing, you're going to take the base plate and we're going to put the launch rails into the base plate. You'll notice that the launch rails have flat tabs along them and the base plate has a series of tab slots running down it. The launch rail fits just right in to the tab slots that run down the length of the base plate. Now, word of note, sometimes these guys can be a little bit sticky. We have to keep the tolerances pretty tight in order so that you don't need to use any glue putting these together. So if it gives you trouble, just work your way up and down and it'll go in eventually. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other launch rail. There's no wrong way to put these in as long as you put both launch rails in on the same side of the base plate. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to take a horizontal member, and you see it has the slanted tab on one side. This matches exactly with the slanted tab slot in the base plate. We're going to fit this in, and we're just going to press that right in. And then we're going to do the same for the other side of the base plate. We're going to fit this in here, and once we get it lined up, there we go. It goes right in. Now we're going to take one of the vertical members and one of the long stabilizer arms. Remember, the long stabilizer arms are the ones with 2 flat tabs on both sides. We're going to hold the vertical member so that the axle hole is at the top, and we're going to fit one of the flat tabs directly into the slot, the tab slot, on the vertical member. Now you'll notice we have 2 flat tabs on the bottom here. Those 2 flat tabs correspond perfectly to the 2 tab slots in the base plate and at the end of the horizontal member. We're going to take these and fit them in just like this, and they should go in perfectly. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to take the other vertical member and the other long stabilizer arm and fit them together. Once we fit them together, we're going to put them in to the slots on the base plate. Now's a good time to go through here and make sure that all of these things are in nice and firmly. Okay. Now we're going to take one of the short stabilizer arms that has a flat tab and a slanted tab, and you'll notice here we have a flat tab slot and a slanted tab slot. You can guess what's going to happen next. We're going to take the short stabilizer arm, put the flat tab into the flat tab slot on the base plate, and as we do that, the slanted tab should line right up with the slanted tab slot. So let's first do this here, and it goes right in. This one might end up being a little bit loose up here, but that's okay. Now we're going to do the same thing again. fits right in. We have to do this twice more on the other side. Perfect. It's already starting to look like a trebuchet. Right now we need to put this aside for a moment though and build the counterweight basket. The counterweight basket has a base plate, looks like this, and two plates for the front and the back. The plates for the front and the back have tabs that are matched and one tab that is not matched with another tab. We're going to take the tab that's not matched with another tab and match it with the slot on the base plate. Okay, at a 90-degree angle, just like that. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other one. We're going to take the tab that's unmatched and put it in to the slot of the bottom piece of the counterweight basket at a 90-degree angle. Now you'll notice we've got this assembled like this, and we have three tabs sticking out of this side. 1, 2, 3. The side piece for the counterweight basket has 3 tab slots. We're going to take the 3 tabs we have here and match them into the 3 tab slots. Now on the other side, we're going to do the same thing again. We have 3 tabs, and the other side piece for the counterweight basket has 3 tab slots. You know the drill. That's a counterweight basket. Now we're going to take the firing arm and the donut spacer, and we're going to put the donut spacer onto the end of the firing arm by the holes. It should slide right up and stop at a little shoulder here. Now we take the small brass rod, put it in to one side of the counterweight basket. Don't push it all the way through just yet, just enough so that you can see it. Now take the firing arm, put it in there, and slide the brass rod through until it goes through the firing arm and into the other side of the counterweight basket. Now we have the counterweight basket that hangs well and swings on the end of the firing arm. Notice here we use the hole at the very end of the firing arm next to the spacer. You don't want to use this one in the middle. That comes next. Because next we take this and we're going to mount it onto the trebuchet. Take the long brass rod and slide it into the axle hole at the top of one of the vertical members. Now we're going to take the firing arm assembly and look over here for a moment. This is called the trigger pin. This firing arm has a front and a back. The trigger pin should be in the back. The back of the firing arm corresponds to the back of the trebuchet. For the trebuchet, this is the back, this is the front. Back, front. So the arm should be oriented so that the trigger pin, this little notch right here, is on the back side of the arm facing the back of the trebuchet. This is correct. This is incorrect. Okay, again, this is correct. So we're going to take this, put it through, and push the brass rod through the arm into the hole on the other vertical member. Now this is looking pretty good, but we need to put the spacers on here for 2 reasons. The spacers will keep the brass rod from sliding out, and they will also make it impossible for the trebuchet to jam itself, like that. So the way we do that is we take one of the C spacers and we slide it down over the top of the vertical member. Eventually, the brass rod might get in the way, so we'll have to push it through so that it doesn't block the spacer, and push the spacer down the rest of the way. Now we do the same thing on the other side. We take the spacer and slide it down over the top of the vertical member, and make sure the brass rod is pushed through so that it's not in the way, and slide this down the rest of the way. Okay? There we go. Perfect. This is already starting to look a lot like a trebuchet. We're not done yet though. Now we have to assemble the sling. Here's the sling, and here's the thread we're going to be using to put this together. You want to take the thread and put it through the holes in the lobes of the sling, and you want to put it through from back to front on both of these. The reason you put it through from back to front on both of these is that when we tie this together, these lobes will lie flat like this. We don't want them to lie like this. That's bad. So we put the string through from back to front, and once we've done that, we'll tie a little knot in the string. I'm actually going to tie a double knot to make sure this stays nice and tight. Now that's tied on the one end of the string. I'm going to take the other string and tie it onto the other end of the sling. Again, you want to go from back to front in the same direction through both holes. And once you've got it through, we can tie a knot. And I'm going to do a double knot here as well. Now the sling is tied onto the strings. I come to the trebuchet and you notice that there's a slot here cut in the end of the arm. That's where we attach one end of the sling. So take the string, run it through the slot, and you want to measure this out so that one end of the sling is just about the same height as the axle here. Once you've figured out where that is, tie a knot in the top of the string to keep this nice and tight. And I think it's pretty important to get this pretty close, because the length of the sling changes the way the trebuchet fires pretty dramatically. It's a lot of fun to play with, so you should definitely do that, but this is a good place to start. And again here, I'm going to tie a double knot to make sure this stays nice and tight. Now, we're going to take the washer and take the free end of the string on the other side of the sling and thread it through the washer. But don't tie a knot just yet, because we have to get the length right. To get the length right, put the washer on the end of the firing arm and pull down on the string until both ends of the sling are at about the same height. Once you've gotten that, you can hold those together. You can even take this off again if you want, as long as you don't lose the length. And now we can tie a knot on this end of the string. And again, I'm going to do a double knot here as well to make sure this stays nice and tight. Okay. Now make sure all your knots are nice and tight, and we're ready to show you how to fire the trebuchet. First thing you have to do is put in the counterweight. We have, for counterweight here, 6 pieces of steel bar. If you want to go for range, maximum range, I would say you should put in all 6 pieces. That way the trebuchet will throw a penny about 40 feet. If you're just trying to peg your friend on the other side of the room, start with 2 or 3. We're going to put in all 6 here. And these should fit right into the counterweight basket. And we are going to be firing a penny. The way you fire this trebuchet is that you take the washer and put the washer on the end of the firing arm. Okay, right on that pin there. Then you take the penny, or whatever projectile you're using, and you put it in the sling. Now, you pull the sling back, and underneath here, and you have to be careful not to tangle these lines, because if these lines get tangled, it doesn't fire very well. Reach around and grab the penny with your other hand, and now you're ready to fire. And one thing to be careful of is you don't want to have your head in the range of the arm, because the arm is going to swing up this way, the sling is going to deploy, and if you have your head right here, you might be about to eat a penny. It's not fun. I don't recommend it. So make sure you're out of the way of the arm, you're out of the way of the sling and everything else, and you've got your trebuchet aimed exactly where you want it. And when you're ready, just let go. All right, ladies and gents, you've got yourself a trebuchet.